So with the burst of leaves growing on the trees, the bright sunshine high in the sky, comes all the fantastic colours of summer. With the fabulous intensity of the summer light comes a higher contrast and a clearer definition between the shapes. Also, the shadows will have a harder edge, and all the light that's bouncing around on the ground will bounce into the shadows and fills them with colour. So it can be a really fantastic season for really pushing all those vibrant colours in your paintings. But one thing to be aware of when you're painting summer scenes is it's slightly counterintuitive, but because there's a stronger light source, the shadows are going to be a lot darker. So you've got to be aware of these dark masses and map out a shadow map of the scene that you're looking at. And then when you've got it painted darker than you initially think, all of those bright colours will really sing. So for our summer painting, I've chosen this vibrant riverside view that looks at a nice wide tonal range. It's got a great pattern of darks throughout the scene, simple shapes, intense greens, and a brighter blue sky, and this will create a lovely, clean, bright impasto painting. We can use the filbert brush for blending in smooth skies and clouds, paint thicker impasto marks for areas of brightly lit foliage, and then enhance the shadows with colourful glazes. I'll be using the base colours of titanium white, burnt umber, cadmium yellow light, phthalo green with a yellow shade, and ultramarine blue. I'll also be using the size 6 soft filbert brush and the larger filbert brush. First, I'm going to talk through why I decided on a green tonal ground for this particular painting. So here I'm just starting with some titanium white and a little bit of cadmium yellow light, and then just adding a touch of ultramarine blue. It feels a little bit too muted. I mean, it will be okay, but I want something with a bit more punch for this particular painting. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the phthalo green, and this is with the yellow shade. Putting the rest of that cad yellow. It's feeling better, but I still think it could have some more cadmium yellow in it and a little bit of more of the phthalo green. That's feeling better. It's feeling better for that underglow of the painting. And I know it's going to look very green in the sky, but it's going to match a really lovely tone underneath the rest of the painting. And that's often what you're doing when you're choosing a colour ground, is you're making a compromise between one colour or the other to try and decide which one is going to bring the painting together the best and reflect the palette and the feel that you're trying to achieve in the painting. It's really lovely pistachio green colour. And there's that great, really intense green. It's going to be a perfect base for our lovely summer painting. So I've used a 3B pencil to sketch out the basic tree shapes. I'm not drawing any detail, just squinting my eyes at the reference image just to see the main outlines. The really strong light in summer creates all these lovely shadow shapes, and you can see how I've indicated them on the drawing just with the pencil and cross hatching. And the cross hatching shadows are all coming in, and they're all kind of equally distributed throughout the whole of the landscape painting. What I'm going to do now is block in the main tones of the sky and of the shadow shapes of the trees. So usually I'd start with the darkest darks and block these shadow shapes in, but because of the intensity of the green on the sky, I'm just going to block that in so it can be drying off, and then I can work back on the darkest darks. So just with some white, and a bit of the ultramarine blue, so I'm just scrubbing over the surface to knock back the green in the background, and I'm just keeping the blue mix lighter towards the bottom as it gets closer towards the tree line, and then darker as it gets closer to the top of the painting. So I'm just swapped to the larger filbert brush, and this makes it easier for blending the colours together. And with the larger brush, I can block in some of the simple cloud shapes just with the titanium white. So if you notice here on the painting where I've got the shape of the tree here and the shape of the tree here, I'm putting thicker white paint so I've got a contrast. So because that's going to be white there, I might even put a bit there, I'm kind of setting up the painting so I've got these elements of contrast already. Then when the dark colours go next to it, it will really pop that much better. Okay, that's nice. So that's just given me a base to work on top of. I might come back and do a bit more on the sky later, but it's just to knock back the green so we can see the shape a bit more clearly and just give us something to work with that intensity of the blue. And now I can start to paint in those dark shapes that I've already got established. And what I'm going to do for that, just to give it that extra bit of green punch, is just put a little bit of the phthalo green. This is the yellow shade. And I'm going to mix that in with a nice dark colour between the blue and the brown, and it will give this really nice glow into the depth of the painting, that real kind of lovely dark greens that you get in landscapes. So I'm just concentrating on the darks, looking for a pattern, and then trying to bring that pattern and that shape through the whole of the painting. It's amazing how dark you can go when you've got a bright sunlit scene. And just having that bit of green into the mix really helps. You see, when it goes thinner, you get this really lovely glow to the colour. It's really dark on this shadow down here that goes into the water, but when that's painted in, that's about it really for this first stage of the painting. We've got a basic sky painted in, we've got a dark shadow pattern, and now I can refine that shadow pattern and put in a few more layers and then start to introduce some brighter pigments into the whole of the painting.